Hi, my name is Holly Edmondson. I'm the principal of Blossom Lawyers. I'm sure we've all heard the recent announcement by the government in terms of the more stringent things they're putting in place to limit movement, and that's obviously going to impact on businesses that are affected by those additional restrictions. It's sad, but it is a case that there probably are going to be some redundancies or some further redundancies as a result of their recent decision. So I just wanted to give you a bit of general information about how to deal with redundancies as an employer. So first of all, you need to make sure that you're complying with the Fair Work Act and the employment contract that's in place. And also, if there is an enterprise agreement that applies to your employees or a modern award, you need to make sure that you're complying with those provisions that are in those instruments. So what is a genuine redundancy? So it's a job, it means that the job is no longer required to be performed by anyone because of operational changes. So for it to be a genuine redundancy, that test needs to be complied with, that it's no longer required to be performed. You also need to go through a consultation process. So as soon as the decision is made to make redundancies, you need to consult with those employees that are going to be affected. There are certain requirements that are needed in accordance with the modern award. So that might be to give notice to an employee, then have a discussion with them, and just keeping them informed through the process. So you do need to make sure that you familiarise yourself with the processes either in the enterprise agreement, the modern award, the Fair Work Act, or the employment contract itself, to make sure that you're complying with those processes. What isn't a redundancy is terminating an employee because of their conduct or performance. That wouldn't be considered a genuine redundancy. You need to make sure that you're paying appropriately. So if you have made the decision to make an employee redundant, you need to make sure that you're paying termination notice periods that are due, whether that's in lieu or making them comply with the rest of the work for the rest of the notice period. You also need to pay out any unpaid leave and long service leave. Redundancy pay may be payable in addition to those amounts. So you need to work out through the Fair Work Act, the contract, the modern award, or enterprise agreement, whichever applies to your employee. That will dictate whether that employee is entitled to redundancy pay or not. So making sure that you're complying with all those legislation, instruments, and any employment contract in place. Otherwise, if it's not considered a genuine redundancy, you are exposing yourself to potential employment claims, whether that be unfair dismissal or some other form of employment claim that might be made. So I'm getting a lot of questions from our clients who are employees at the moment about what they should be paying, what their obligations are in terms of paying employees that are off sick or that just don't want to turn up to work because they're concerned. So what I'm going to be doing is next Tuesday at 10 o'clock Queensland time is to do a free webinar that's going to talk to all those issues, that the effects of coronavirus on employers. So that will be, what are the obligations in terms of employees, sick leave, annual leave, any leave that they might be entitled to, depending on the circumstances of the matter. It'll also talk to things that might affect employers. So it might be that they have to stand down employees and the processes that are required to be followed to do that. Also redundancies in a bit more detail than what we've been able to cover today. So if you'd like to be invited to join that webinar, let me know below, and I'll send you a link so that you can join that and get some information that might be helpful to you over the next few months. And I'll speak to you then. Thanks.